Thank you, Jason. Now, the man of the hour. The Agenda21Radio.news. Paul Preston.
Wow, tough act to follow, huh? Until we start talking. Anyway, did everybody hear me all right?
Yes.
Probably hear me without the microphone.
No.
All right. It's kind of weird though. It's kind of like you got to do this little rock and roll. Anyway, this is really a good meeting, and I'm really glad to see so many people here. And as I have said, and you actually heard our speaker tonight mention this, you know, I really want you to understand the significance about what I'm going to say. Because this is serious business right now, folks. And every day that I get up and I contact my people, or my people contact me at 1 o'clock in the morning, I hear more and more and more and more about how serious this is. There's one major source of resistance that the so-called global elitists, the Republicans that you heard about, and the Democrats fear. It's you in this room. Listen, I'm not, joking around here. I am dead serious. These people are ruthless human beings who want to destroy America, and they wanted to take you out first. That is a fact. They are here to take you out first. We're not joking. This is a worldwide effort to destroy the United States of America. And as time goes on, as the days and weeks go by, and you start to hear me talk more and more on the radio, you're going to hear me explain in detail some of the things that are happening out there in the world that you don't even know about. And why you're so at risk at this point in time. Yeah, the gun lobby over there has to be quiet. You're getting the real news over here. Thank you. But, I'm really serious about this. The Tea Party is the major source of resistance to these folks. They fear you. And you know why they fear you? Because they fear the Constitution. They fear everything about this nation. The Bill of Rights, our inalienable God-given rights, they fear. They are godless people. No wonder they fear God. And it's our Constitution that is put forth for us as inalienable rights, God-given rights for us Americans to have, that they fear the most. When we talked about Lavoy-Finicum, we talked about what was going on up here in Harney County. Clinton Cash. Have you seen the movie? How many have not seen the movie yet? It's out there, Breitbart, Agenda 21 Radio. It's a 65-minute long movie. You can see it. It explains the whole thing about Bill and Hillary Clinton and how they are using the one world effort, the global elites basically, to buy and sell our real estate out in the world. That's what they're doing. Harney County, where we had this refuge thing going on with the Bundys, is the richest deposit of thorium on the planet, by far. Thorium is number 90 in the periodic table of the elements. It's a radioactive compound, and basically it's going to be used as a new nuclear energy. It's a clean energy out there. It gives off carbon, no radioactivity, no radioactive particles, as opposed to uranium, 92. You see the value in that. But here's the deal. It generates much more energy as thorium than uranium does. So it's way more powerful. And who has the dibs on that? A company called TerraPower. Oh no, we haven't gotten to Hillary yet. She got certainly paid off. But a company called TerraPower. And who owns TerraPower? Bill Gates. Microsoft, Mr. Vax guy, the ones who vaccinate everybody on the planet, and is killing thousands of children, maiming thousands of children. He is an A1 class murderer. That's Bill Gates. The vaccines that are being given to our children right now are despicable, and he is promoting it. Autism, how much autism have we seen here lately? Since I can tell you that as an educator in 41 years in the system, I did not have contact with an autistic child until 1990. I started in 1972. That was the first time I met an autistic child was in 1990 at Esperanza High School. A long time. Now look what's happened now. The population is now down to 1 in every 500 are autistic being born or being given the vaccines. Hello, that's called a crisis of epidemic proportions. And our federal government is all in on this. It's called the eugenics program, how to depopulate, bring down the population of the United States and the rest of the world. That's how sinister this is. They mean business. They're here to depopulate and they fear you. It's kind of a nice position to be in, isn't it? But I call on all of you to be unified. Bring more people into the fold. Bring more people to Tea Party. Show our resolve because we're going to need it in the next couple of months big time. More people need to hear the message. More people need to stand firm and come to these meetings. And we're the only political act in town that can stand up to people like Jerry Brown. They spend a lot of time figuring out what are we going to do about the Tea Party. And that's good. And they're afraid. And that's very good. And what's happening more and more and more to these people is becoming more fearful because the news and information is finally getting out to people about what they're truly doing. The mainstream media is all but dead to rational thinking Americans. And that's why this alternative media that we're involved in, and you guys are part of actually, is really skyrocketing with people. People are getting the truth for once and for all. And they're doing it through radio shows like mine, through Dorenson's radio shows, all the alternative media that's out there, and all, of course, the web-based programming and things like that. People can research us, they can fact-check us, where they can't do that with the mainstream media. Now, Donald Trump is facing the mainstream media 110%, but I do want to say this about the Donald. The guy's really kind of brilliant, actually. And I do have to say there's Donald back there in the back. I had my picture taken with Donald the other day. And everybody wants to know who's got that hand around your waist there. There he is back there. Anyway, what has Donald been doing? And this speaks a little bit about what the speaker was talking about, because if you've been listening to my radio show over the last several weeks, I have declared that there's now a third party, a big third party in the United States of America. You have the Republicans, you have the Democrats, and you have the Globalist Party USA. Now, who makes up the globalists? Anybody who has that global thinking, United Nations Agenda 21 thinking, that they're going to come here and destroy our country, break down our borders. And let's see, Paul Ryan. What about Paul Ryan? Do you think he likes TPP? I don't like Paul Ryan either. That's why when I talk about Paul Ryan on my radio show, it's never good. Anyway, but Paul Ryan is a globalist. So is John Boehner. Let's see, who else can we name as globalists? How about President Barack Hussein Obama? How about the Pope? The Pope believes everything that Obama says. So, you just have to put the association together. What about Hillary Rodham Clinton and Bill Clinton? Of course. They use the globalist thing, the globalist party. Let's talk about the Republicans. What Republicans can you see that are on the globalist side? John McCain, the Bushes. Oh, hello, the Bushes, George Bush Sr. He's the first one who comes out and says in his speech in 1992, just before the signing of what? Agenda 21. Down in Rio de Janeiro. Isn't that just the armpit of the world? Rio de Janeiro. If you were a swimmer, my daughter swam for 20-some years. USS swimming. I went through the Olympics a couple times and all this stuff. I know what it's like in that kind of situation. I would never allow a swimmer to go in a green pool at the Olympics. Hello. But anyway, before that signing of United Nations Agenda 21 down in Rio de Janeiro, the Rio de Janeiro Accord, which put us on this trajectory of one world order. It was George Bush Sr. who came out and gave a speech about there is a new world order. A one world order by the United Nations. Then Nancy Pelosi, in October of 1992, before the election, she runs a bill so that we can codify and put into real law in America United Nations Agenda 21. That was Nancy Pelosi. And also they ran a bill after that calling for the President's Council on Sustainability, setting it up for who? Bill Clinton, who was elected in November. And by July of 1993, Bill Clinton had already gotten together his President's Council on Sustainability, and here we go. All the buying and selling of land, the jackbooted thug behavior by the BLM, brought you the Bundy situation. What about Cliven Bundy? Cliven Bundy was a 53rd rancher in his area. And in 1992, or 93, in July, he was given a contract to sign for leasing his property, the property that he had been using for generations there. He looked at that lease, and right here across the way, he actually gave this presentation here at Glad Tidings, at the Liberty Tour. And what happened was, he looked at that lease and he said, "This is not from my country," as he looked at that lease from the BLM, Department of the Interior. And he made that statement. I heard it on TV, and I asked him before I interviewed him on the radio. I said, "Cliven, what do you mean by that?" And I listened and I said, "Have you ever read Agenda 21? Before the interview, he read most of Agenda 21. He got the drift. And offline, before we started the interview, he said, "Paul, the language in that lease was right out of Agenda 21. And he said, if I had signed that, they would have managed me out of my property like they did the 52 other ranchers before him." He has never to this day signed that lease. And they came after him, and what did he do? He confronted them. Think big picture. Cliven Bundy sits in jail today, supposedly for those actions, and so does his two sons. By the way, if you haven't been keeping up with Agenda 21 Radio, I'll just let you know, Ryan Bundy was forcibly removed from his cell, and was going to be forced to be operated on, and have the bullet fragments removed from his shoulders after they murdered Lavoy Finicum. And that was stopped. People got on the radio, people got on the phone, people started calling people up in Oregon and said, "No, we don't want that." See, the one thing they do not want, and this is the point that I'm making here, they're all under the direct command of what they call National Command Authority in the White House. Valerie Jarrett here heads this up. They don't want any publicity to be shed on what's going on over here with everybody who's been locked up by the federal government. They want no publicity. You see, they fear the Constitution. They fear you. They fear me. We know that there are ways in which we can get to them and we can stop them, and we did. People were successful in preventing them from taking that bullet fragment out of Ryan Bundy. Now, why would they want the bullet fragment? Because this is what happened in the murder of Lavoy Finicum by our federal government. This is what happened. Is that there was a shot that was fired by an FBI, so-called quote FBI agent, that hit the top of the roof of the truck as Lavoy Finicum jumped out of the truck and was waving his hands, surrendering. That bullet hit the roof, broke up, wounded Ryan, and wounded Lavoy Finicum. Where? Right here, in the hip. And as the attorneys will tell you, as that fragment started to singe and burn away, he reached down, and that's when they shot him. He did not have a gun on him. That's your government at work. That's totalitarianism. There was no warrant for the arrest of any of these people. They were stopped illegally. They never violated any traffic violation. The warrants came after the fact, after they shot Finicum and murdered him. We unraveled that on Agenda 21 Radio. Now it's part of a court case requiring and requesting that all charges be dropped against all of them. That's the reality. That's what's happening. That court case was filed June 23rd. But they fear us, and there needs to be more of us, and I'm really so happy to see everybody here tonight. Now, so much for my rant. I should have recorded that.
You did.
Oh, I can't wait till the Central Command Authority sees it. That's all right. Okay, elections. Katie Grimes, I did a great interview with Katie, catching up back and forth. How many remember Katie Grimes? She came here to speak. She now writes for ReaganBaby.com. That's the website. And she does some fantastic investigative work. And I've been so fortunate over the last several years to have had contact with Katie and done some things with her. But this is something that's really a big story. And if you can go to our website or you go to ReaganBaby.com, you might want to read this story because it's very compelling. It talks about the elections. Now, one of the things that I was really struck with in June 7th when the elections came in was how poorly Bernie Sanders did. Now, I've been around California elections for a long time, and I can remember what it's like. And of course, we all know that they're fixed, they're crooked, and have been for quite some time since the 1990s. But I really wasn't prepared for the vast number of ballots that went towards Hillary Clinton, and the lack of ballots that went for Bernie Sanders, since everybody and their mother was standing on the corner, every California corner, with a Bernie Sanders sign. Remember that? Even out here we have it. So people started to catch up to the system. And they found out that there was provisional ballots that were being given out to Democrats. How many of you Republicans went to your polling place and you found out you didn't have a Republican ballot there? Anybody? That seemed to really happen a lot in Southern California. And the provisional ballots were just off the hook. There were no Democratic ballots for people that were Democrats to vote, such as the younger millennials. So they were given a provisional ballot to vote, but the provisional ballots, they just weren't counted. They just weren't counted. So the system is completely rigged, and she outlines it here in fact, tomorrow morning, if you listen to Agenda 21 Radio on Red State Talk Radio, we'll probably play her. I think she comes up in the second hour, so from 7 to 8 in the morning on Red State Talk Radio, you can listen to her interview. It's brilliant. She does a fantastic job of laying out the corruption and how this whole thing plays out. And I'm going to move on to another subject, but I want to tell you this. She and I talked on the air. I think we got part of it on the air, but we talked about what can we do next. And this is really important. So for all of you that want to take and do absentee ballots, get off your butts and get down there and vote in person. I mean this. I mean this. I know some of us have obligations, you won't be there and stuff like that. This is how they're screwing their system. They're not counting the absentee ballots, period. They're just not doing it. And the instruction booklets are all fixed in advance. So that anybody who goes to a polling place is a polling person. They're getting wrong information. That's how the whole provisional ballot thing's set up. It's corruption that we've never seen on a scale in this nation's history. Now, this is what's going to happen. This is why I say, go vote. What's Obama say? I can't remember. Don't get mad, go vote. Don't get mad, vote. Well, this is true. Let's take them up on it. We'll vote. We'll get out there. We'll go to the polling places and we'll have an actual paper ballot and we'll stuff it in the box. We're not going to depend upon somebody else doing it for us. Ask for a paper ballot, put it in. That's the only way you're going to break this cycle. Now, there's going to be more things. We're going to talk more to Katie about this, going forward about how to break this whole cycle. But this is the one thing that she says absolutely will work. Your ballot will get counted. So don't depend on somebody else. Don't take it for granted. They're here to screw you. Now, this is what they have planned. Oh, by the way, did you know that Bill Clinton visited Jerry Brown just days before the election? How many knew that? Just a couple people? It's reminiscent of the visit that he paid to Loretta Lynch, right? Just a couple of days before the FBI investigation. Bill has to get everything in order. He is the kingpin of it all. We've kind of figured that one out, and there's other things that are going to go on with that story. But go out and vote directly yourself. Go down to the ballot, swamp the ballots with your friends. Get people to register to vote, because this is what it's going to come down to. They are going to use the model that they've constructed here in California on the nation. And if that happens, Hillary wins. Hillary wins. And it won't even be close. And I know that there's tens of thousands of people who go see Donald Trump. You know, I'm a bean counter. I used to do school administration and assemblies and crowds. I know crowd sizes. He gets massive crowds. Everybody wants to hear him. But they're fixing the vote. They're rigging the vote. And they're using the California model, which they demonstrated and they effectively used on June 7th. Bernie Sanders. Do you get, I mean, you guys can connect those dots, can't you? I mean, it's pretty simple to see that. And of course, the Bernie people just going crazy in Philadelphia. But I was supposed to go to Philadelphia. I had the tickets, had all the credentials and everything, but the disease got to me and I couldn't go. But my other people that were there for me went, and they said it was non-stop protest against Hillary by the Democrats in Philadelphia, outside and even inside. They hate her.
That's why they built a wall.
They built not only that, but they put in sound dampeners and all sorts of things so that people wouldn't be distracted by the people that were booing against her inside the stadium. Somebody had a question. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, did you see the thing on YouTube, the gentleman that wrote the software that rigs the election so that it will automatically be 49% for one and 51% for the other? He was asked, can this happen? He says, yes, it can. I wrote the software.
Yeah.
And you don't see it.
I always get this quote wrong. Let's see if I can pull it up on my little tablet here. It's the quote that Joseph Stalin, Katie has it on her article here. Yeah, and this is, she got the right one. There's like all these different innovations of it. It says, the people who count the votes decide everything. This is what it says. It is enough that the people know there was an election. The people who count the votes decide nothing. The people who count the votes decide everything. And that's true. George Soros owns Diebold, which is the vote machine. And he owns a software company, Seaford or something like that, which is in Barcelona, Spain. Yeah.
So, Paul, if you're already signed up for an absentee ballot, what do you do?
Take it down there in person.
Take it down there in person.
Exactly.
To the polling place.
Take it down in person. Show up. Be a force. Be a force.
Paul, and then you drop that one in?
Yeah, they'll take it right there. Yeah.
What you do though is, because I'm a precinct inspector.
You're one of those guys.
I'm one of those.
All right, there it is right there.
Get a good look.
Blame Bob.
You put it into a special bucket that's for the hand absentee ballots, and it's segregated with the absentee ballot. So if you're not counting absentees, then it's not going to work. What you have to do is you walk into your inspector for your precinct, you hand them your unvoted absentee ballot and say, I want a live ballot.
Oh, good. Okay. And I stand corrected because that's exactly what Katie told me today, and I just...
Yeah, I confirmed that. I also...
Yeah.
And that's...
So
you're verifying Bob? What's wrong with you? Come on. We're going to have some crisis going on here. Okay, so listen, now let's be clear about this. I want to be clear. What do we have to do, Bob? How does this work? And you can back up. You want to tell us.
You take your absentee ballot to your assigned polling place. You hand it to the inspector and you say, I want a clean ballot. And you vote the clean ballot. We take your absentee ballot and we put it into a special bag that will be shredded and destroyed.
But the other one might be a provisional ballot, which never will be counted.
Okay, and let's hold that point. Larry's got a great point.
I don't have a precinct. Mine is all absentee ballot.
That's right.
You can go to the registrar of voters and change that. Your absentee ballot is mailed to a location. Whatever the address is, that is within some precinct. So you have a precinct.
Yeah, it's a precinct, but it's not a...
What I'm saying is,
No.
It says to take to any polling place.
I can
There's
take
no
my
polling place.
ballot to any polling
we keep a...
Yeah, you can't.
Just let Bob talk.
If you can hear me, we keep a list of all voters. So, I'm from Duke County, you walk into my polling place, and the polling place that I'm an inspector of is in Chico. And it may say Robert Thomas Gridley and I'll say, excuse me, you're in the wrong place. You can't vote here in Chico. You have to vote at 123 Sesame Street in Gridley. So you've got to go to Gridley. But your address, wherever your registered address is an address that is in some precinct. It's your obligation to figure out which precinct it's in, take your absentee ballot, walk in, let them find your name, say, yes, you're here, you vote in that precinct, and then you take that over and you hand it to the inspector, and I, as an inspector, will give you a clean ballot. In this election, there's no Democrat ballot, there is no Republican ballot, there's no independent ballot. It is just a ballot, and that's what you're after.
There's not a provisional ballot, in other words, like in the traditional sense.
It will be a provisional ballot.
If we cannot find your name, or if we find that you say, I've moved to Yuba City from Gridley, then we'll let you vote provisionally, and quite frankly, all that is re-registering you for the next election. It does not really count your ballot for the election that you turned in.
That's a good point.
If there's ever an issue, for God's sake, go register tomorrow morning.
Right.
Register early and often.
Bob, we have a whole section in our county that they send us absentee ballots, and we are not assigned to any precinct.
That's right. So
By mail only, yeah. But I took it into the precinct that I knew about nearest. Now, what does that do?
No, then what you do is, tomorrow you go down to the registrar, and you say, I live at 123 Sesame Street, I want a live precinct that I can walk in and give paper to. You need to be an irritant to the registrar.
Absolutely. And this is the point, because number one, you're going to be making some statements that there's new vision on the polling places. Now, we're going to try and get this to spread to Southern California. There's people already working on this kind of stuff down there, because this is going to, they're not going to like this at all. But the more people who come up and confront and are at the polls, the better. We will prevail if we're at the polls voting. Jan.
So, can't you take your mail-in ballots to your county elections office?
Yes.
And get a paper ballot?
Well, no, because what will happen is if you go to, like if I live in Gridley, I go to Oroville to the elections. If I do that, they'll convert me to a provisional ballot because I am not in the right place.
I'm talking about your county elections.
That's what I'm saying. My county elections office is in Oroville. So if I go to Gridley, from Gridley with my mail-in ballot and hand it in Oroville, it will be put in a provisional envelope. I'm sorry. If it's bovine effluent, that is not my problem. What I'm telling you is that's how it works. That's why now, 60 days out before the election, you must register.
Okay. I'm going to move on because we're running out of time here. But a couple of things about Donald Trump. And if you listen to Agenda 21 Radio and have been for about the last 3 years, and you really listened to it after the July Liberty Tour, you heard me professing and proclaiming that the founder of ISIS is President Barack Hussein Obama and Hillary Rodham Clinton. Yeah. And I think you guys know we've said that a lot. And lo and behold, I've just now found out and discovered here in the last week or so that Donald Trump apparently listens to Agenda 21 Radio. And by the way, no matter what you're hearing out there in the media, and I've been going around in circles about this in the last couple of days because people are calling me, Donald Trump and all that. I said, well, he did. He founded ISIS. You can't put it in it. Not only did he have the policies, but he's funding ISIS even today. There you go. Just a couple of months ago, he funded about $70 million worth of arms for ISIS. So it's real. And he's come out with a statement, and he needs to stand by it, which he is. And he's kind of playing a little bit of games. I want to say this about Donald Trump. The guy is totally crazy like a fox. He's brilliant, in my opinion. And what he has done is he has, in the process, and you got to watch how this plays out. He is in the process of a hostile takeover of the Republican Party. Think about that. He's a corporate raider. He gets all this stuff. He's just hostilely taking over the Republican Party. Hey, if these guys, like you heard Dornson here a second ago, if these guys don't want to be in my party, fine. They're the guys who gave us the problem to begin with.
Out you go.
He did, absolutely. I saw him say it.
You guys can go fly a kite.
I think he said something else, but I'm not going to. But you know, what he is doing is he's successfully expunging the globalists from the Republican Party. And thank God it's happening. You know, I was on the radio before I got in here to a Genesis network, and I said to them, I gave up my Republican Party affiliation in 1992. And in 1992, I saw, and it was interesting, the commentator was right on with me on this. I saw the situation that was going on with George Bush the senior not really out there campaigning, and then Bill Clinton. And then I said when I was part of the Republicans down in Orange County, I saw how the Lincoln Club was endorsing Donald Trump. Or excuse me, oh God, that's not good. Bill Clinton. And it's a very elite Republican organization. And at that point in time, I realized these other people have another agenda for the Republican Party because they went with Bill Clinton as Republicans. And the world has never been the same since. So that's why I've come up with this whole globalist idea. There's another party out there. It's the Globalist Party, Globalist Party USA. And you can throw any active Republican that's the globalist or thinks globally into that group. Now, there's a lot of really good Republicans who don't think that way. And that's what Donald Trump is trying to corral, if you will. And that's why the takeover, and Rance Priebus gets it. Now, those of you that have listened to me wail on Rance Priebus for 4 years, wail on pasty-faced Rance Priebus. I'm not saying it anymore. You know, he's the guy who replaced Michael Steele. Michael Steele gave us the 2010 election, and then Rance Priebus gave us 2012 and 2014. Well, say hallelujah, brother, because Rance is now a believer in Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Falling in line.
Yeah, it's like, wow, where'd that come from?
An excellent speech for Donald Trump.
He did. I was like going, Rance, Rance, brother, what's up? And you know, I was excited about that. There's going to be a better Republican Party as a result of this. I know that some of the crazy things that you hear and say about, or people are saying about Donald Trump, a lot of it's not true. In fact, a couple of instances where they're talking about, he walked back the statement about how he was just kind of kidding about the ISIS MVP award for Obama. Yeah, that was kind of tongue-in-cheek, but the rest of it was fully meant. He fully believes and knows, and he has the data behind it to know that Obama and Hillary created ISIS. And that's a problem for them. So that's going forward. Anyway, Globalist Party USA, you're going to be hearing more about that. Questions? I'll take questions before I make a little bit here. Any questions? Any more questions? Yes, ma'am.
The people, I just want to go back to the voting thing real quick, how everybody was asking where their polling place is. I just Googled, where is my polling place, California, and it comes up with the Secretary of State website. You enter your registered address where you live, and it'll tell you where you go to vote.
Right.
Just Google, where do I go to vote?
Yeah, I think
It also says it in the paper.
yeah. Standard paper. Yes, sir.
Paul, I saw part of Donald Trump's speech about what you said, the ISIS thing today on C-SPAN.
Right.
Excellent speech.
Right. Well, it's really funny because you know, I talk to Scott Bennett quite often, and we have other contacts that we talk to that I can't tell you who they are, and it's just really funny what's going on.
Shell game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They can't. The Clintons and Obamas cannot run from the facts that are going to unfold in front of them. And it's the same with what's going on with the, if you take a look at the Clinton Foundation and all the stuff that's going on there, there's going to be more and more that's going to come out there. Now the question is, how lawless are we going to be? Because the FBI is just basically standing down. You probably noticed that.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody's investigating anybody for any kind of criminal activity unless it's you and I.
How much did those things got?
What's that?
How much left more emails did those things got?
There's a lot more emails to come out. You're talking about the WikiLeaks and all that. There's a lot more to come out. And Julian Assange, I used to think was a traitor. I don't think that anymore. I mean, initially, when I heard everything, I thought he was a traitor, but not after the last 6 weeks. There is no way. The guy is they are so spot on what's going on.
Getting the dirt out.
And what it is, it does come down, I'm serious, it comes down to this globalist agenda. You heard Holland the other day from France interfering with our election, calling Trump some sort of absurd name, which never happened. See, these internationalists now feel that they can just take pot shots at us in our potential. I don't care if it's Obama. I resent another world leader coming out and taking shots about somebody who's running on our election. I just do. I think that's absolutely wrong. But they feel empowered now because of the breakdowns that we've been seeing to be able to do that, and they want that globalist agenda. When you consider the amount of money that's wrapped up in the mineral resources of the world, and these guys are players on that scale. They're buying and selling land, they're buying and selling minerals and rights and so on. It's phenomenal what is really going on, and that new movie that's out about Clinton Cash really, I think, does explain it pretty well. Any more questions? Okay, Art, one more, quick.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Paul. What do you think could happen as the October surprise everybody's talking about?
Okay.
Can you say anything?
There's 4 places we need to watch. This is pretty serious stuff, so pay attention. There's 4 places you need to watch. You need to watch what's going on in Turkey. And I say the 4 places in Turkey because 4 places in Turkey amount to how they round up the usual suspects. And Erdogan in Turkey, the leader there, was elected in 2002, and he basically inherited the Ataturk mentality of secularism. You know what I'm thinking about that with Turkey? It's a Muslim area. Muslims conquered Turkey over Christians and so on. It's gone back and forth and back and forth. We understand the Ottoman Empire and all that stuff about Turkey. But Ataturk, after World War II, realized that we couldn't have Muslim authority. And so he went secular because there were so many different religions. And he kept a secular nation from about 1923 until recently. And Erdogan, who's the president there, was elected in 2002, has been slowly moving it back towards a Muslim country. And a Sunni Muslim country with affiliations with the Muslim Brotherhood. He's all under the guidance of the Muslim Brotherhood. And so when ISIS popped up with Obama, of course they're all in on that. That's why ISIS has always been a safe haven, found a safe haven in Turkey, because Erdogan supports it. And he supports the so-called Grand Caliphate, and Erdogan views himself as the Caliph. And Obama views Erdogan as the Caliph for the Grand Caliphate. So, in other words, worldwide dominance of Islam in the Grand Caliphate from Erdogan, from Turkey. That's what this is about. That's what you're playing with. Okay, some things are going south, though, because they've now decided that they're going to ramp it up in Turkey. And what they're doing in Turkey is that they had a coup, right? It was a phony coup. We spotted this within the first 30 to 40 minutes about what was going on. We were listening to the play-by-play and all that stuff. It was a phony coup designed for him to survive it, consolidate his forces, and then round up the usual suspects. Right now they have about 30,000 people that they've rounded up from the military, and the country is really swinging now towards an Islamic state. And it will be that way. Here's the problem. There's several problems at play here. Incirlik Airport. Who's been there? Tom, you've been there? Anybody else stationed there? Okay. Incirlik Airport has nuclear weapons there. B-61 nuclears is what they are. We got the report of 50 of them, tactical nukes, and now we've heard that there's as many as 100. We don't know what's going to happen with that. But it looks like, and the concern of the people I've talked to is that those might get in the hands of ISIS, since Erdogan wants to create this Grand Caliph and wants to destroy the world, basically. So that's a problem. But I say watch Turkey as a flashpoint, because Obama still works with Erdogan all the time, as he does with Gulen here in the United States. This could become a potential problem for us in the United States problematically throughout October. It could be an October surprise. The other place is the South China Sea, And that's another big point. And all of these things around the world are brewing at one time. They're ramping it up. And lastly, the last place is the Ukraine. And some of you might know active duty people in Poland right now that are arming up for the Ukraine. And they're training and so on. That's going to be a big problem. Because in the Ukraine is guided by people that are aligned with the Nazis. And the leadership of the Ukraine is a Nazi group, but that doesn't fit Putin very well. And the problem is that you had a battle right outside of Ukraine called Kursk, in which 1 million Russians died in World War II at the hands of these Nazis. So do you see why Putin is a little bit sensitive about that? And that's why he's been bringing in the brand new tanks, the brand new missiles tonight I heard, along the border there. So these are potential flashpoints that could flash and create a world war. And that's something that some people in this government want. They're trying to steer that. Okay, I got one final thing, and that's Sunday programming on KMYC 1410. How many have listened to Sunday programming and heard foreign languages and stuff, but no more?
Yeah!
And basically, we need help to fund it. So if you're interested in helping us to fund it and pay for that and keep it on the air, I'm interested in talking to you because it's costing money to do that. But we felt there's a couple of things going on. One, AM radio and terrestrial radio is being taken off the air, especially talk radio, conservative talk radio throughout the nation. Media Matters and the Democrats have been working very hard on that. That's why you won't find Rush Limbaugh on KFI down in Southern California or other 50,000 watt radio stations around the nation in the major markets except for Sacramento. Because Media Matters got them off and contracted him with a smaller radio station that's say 5 to 10,000 watts. They silenced that way. So we're rebelling. We're putting on conservative talk radio, Live with Blues on Sundays. Now, that means, listen, Warren, this means that you two have to come to the breakfast now on Saturday mornings, because I put Live with Lou on Sunday. No excuses, show up for breakfast. That's been his excuse. Lame. No longer lame. So anyway, we can use your help to make donations for that. We have to pay a monthly. Basically, I went into Tom Booth and said, Tom, and the reason, it's kind of a selfish reason, because in AM radio, if you're using another language on a radio station, it just destroys the continuity of it. And it doesn't matter what the language is. You can have Mexican, you can have English, you can have Punjabi. But if all of a sudden you have Punjabi and then 2 hours of English, it's kind of like, where do the Punjabis go? You know what I'm saying? It's a function. Everybody knows this in the business. And it was killing his programming. It was killing our programming, my shows. And so that's why we approached him and said, look, we need to get our message out. And we're also planning to put on at least 1 hour, maybe 2 hour Tea Party show.
Yeah.
It'll just be for Sundays. So anyway, I made my deal. Anything else? How'd I do?
Your upcoming seminar.
What's that? Israel, that's an interesting question. And tonight's radio show that I did before I came on here was about Israel. And it's interesting you asked that just now, because Israel did something for us, and I can't describe what it is, did something for us a couple of weeks ago that saved millions of Americans' lives.
Oh.
With an M.
They shut it down, huh?
So, with that...
Paul, talk about the new date on your tour.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Yeah, we had a lot of conflicts with people wanting to come, go, and so on for the Liberty Tour, so we changed the date for Liberty Tour. Same bat place here, and it's going to be on the 29th of October. And same thing, if you're a veteran, first responder, children are free. It's $10 to get in, so it's not that really big a deal. It's going to be a fantastic program about what these people fear the most, and that's the Constitution. We're going to spread the virus.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Bill.